Hey, kia ora, welcome back everybody. Thank you once again for coming back to the channel, or if it's your first time here, welcome. We've had a couple of fairly heavy, in my personal opinion, reactions, the last couple of ones to Ben Roberts-Smith and the defamation case that was put forward. Hey, I've really appreciated all the comments, the input, the shares, the perspectives that have come through. All of those are going to stay. I'm not deleting any of those. I will try to get around to answering, if not all of them, as many as I can over the coming days, but there's quite a few comments and there's a lot of depth and time that people have been kind enough to put into that, into your messages, into your shares, into your comments. So I'll do my best to try to get to those as soon as I can. But given all of that, of what's just happened, the last couple of videos, I thought I want to shift tact and go through and do another reaction to Mr. Willie Apiata VC. Like I said, the last one with regards to Ben Roberts-Smith, there were a number of requests for me to delve into that based on my Victoria Cross reaction that I did of RS. So I've done that. We'll leave that one there. I don't have all the answers to that. We'll see what happens as things progress over the coming months or years or however long it takes. So with that being said, here for, I think this might be part 3 of the reaction to Mr. Willie Apiata VC. So if you're here for that, then let's jump back in.
During a tour of Afghanistan, an SAS patrol was forced to lay up for the night in terrain that offered limited defensive protection. As the 3-man crew of Corporal Willie Apiata's vehicle slept, a small army of insurgents lay under the cover of darkness with rocket-propelled grenades and machine guns.
Something's going to happen. It'll always happen when you least expect it. And that's what happened.
The whole car erupted basically as the first RPG hit.
I woke up standing up with my sleeping bag around my ankles, blown off the bonnet. I could feel all the overpressure coming off it as well. And plus all the small arms in the background. I just crawled as low as I could to the vehicle.
The RPGs and machine gun rounds ripped through the vehicle commander's arm.
I remember him looking for the entry and the exit, and looking right through.
The 3 of us were at the back of the wagon, pinned down. The whole wagon was shaking. Bullets ripping through the metal. RPG rounds hitting it after that, one after the other. I sort of lost count on how many rockets, I suppose, hit the wagon.
Man, there's lads that got set up and conducted this ambush. Clearly, or sounds like really well organized, real accurate rounds, rockets, small arms on target. Under the cover of darkness too. So not too sure what they were running or what sort of ambient light there may have been or may not have been in terms of moon or starlight or anything like that to help out with them being able to get such accurate rounds and all that sort of stuff onto their vehicle or onto Willie's and them's vehicle. But just hearing them blowing off the bonnet once one of the rockets hit, I think is what was mentioned. Incredibly lucky that, one, that it got blown off the vehicle for starters, and 2, that it didn't remove or injure him. I don't know how badly he may have been fragged or wounded or anything like that, but extremely lucky.
I think I might have counted about 5 or so.
With support nearly 100 meters away, the vehicle commander was rapidly bleeding to death.
I can remember my body going into peripheral shutdown, and I can remember my feet losing feeling in my feet as the blood drains to your core.
Imagine turning a tap on with the old hose and the water running out, splashing on the ground.
As the enemy approached, the New Zealanders faced certain death.
I don't think anyone could have come to help us. We had to get ourselves out.
that description that Willie gave, and the PC, the patrol commander, going into shock, all the blood, everything shutting down, going into shock and trying to prioritize the blood flow to those vital areas and feeling his feet and everything. I think he mentioned starting to go numb. And then Willie's description of imagine turning on a tap and then just everything, the water splashing on the ground. Horrific scene to be faced with. And then I think the PC mentioned earlier is trying to find the exit and exit wound, entry and exit wound, entry and exit wound, and just, I think he mentioned he just remembers seeing straight through. Super grateful that they're alive and that they've come out of this, but horrific. It would have been horrific to be in amongst all of that.
Anyone else?
The moment has finally arrived for Willie to receive the Victoria Cross.
All right. On your lead, my leash. Good luck. There really are two caveats placed on the awarding of the Victoria Cross. The first is a singular brave act or deed. Secondly, the nature of that act must be such that it turned the tide of the battle that was being conducted. I also read that you have to have a 90% chance of dying.
90% chance of dying. And it's incredible to me to hear not only the Willie Apiatas of the world, but we've seen it with the Mark Donaldsons, the Ben Robert Smiths, the Keith Paynes, the Uphams of the world, and many, many others, including those Medal of Honor winners, including those that have just, those that we hear bits and pieces of or may know little bits of, or those of you that may know individuals that have been awarded gallantry awards for their actions in combat and conflict. It's pretty incredible what they go through, what they do in those moments. And it, for me anyway, it just reinforces part of my why I always wanted to go in and serve in that unit, to just be with men and look to try to earn their trust and respect in regards to, if we go to battle or we end up in conflict, that I know they've got my back and I want to have their back as best I can. And so hearing these things and just hearing what the CEO was speaking about there in terms of when they're going through their criteria, assessing what award it sits under, and in this case the Victoria Cross for Willie. It's awesome. It's awesome. Well deserved and awesome to hear.
As Governor General, I have the authority and privilege, on behalf of Her Majesty the Queen, to confer the honour of the Victoria Cross for New Zealand on Corporal Bill Henry Apiata of the New Zealand Special Air Service Group. You are the first person to receive the Victoria Cross for New Zealand.
Corporal Bill Henry Apiata.
So I think that's where there was, I think, some comments mentioned earlier in one of the other, either the first or the second reaction, where the gentleman's saying, I don't know if there was an editing fault or whatever, but there have been other New Zealanders, a number of other New Zealanders that have received and been awarded the Victoria Cross. So it may have been just a slip of the tongue or whatever. Maybe the guy was nervous. I don't know. But yeah, there have been other people. Willie isn't the first. From my understanding, Willie is the only living recipient of the Victoria Cross, only living New Zealander who holds the Victoria Cross. And I know Willie has handed that Victoria Cross in. I don't know all the details around it, but I know it's to do with the battle that he's been having in and around the definition of a veteran and that sort of stuff. So I haven't caught up or spoken or messaged Willie at all to get his take on that and how he's doing. But yeah, there have been requests for me to look into that one. I'll probably look at doing that maybe later on down the track. I think it's still fairly raw and fresh, and maybe that's why people are wanting me to look into it. Probably some pros and cons for me to do that while it's fresh, but for me, I just feel like giving Willie some space and letting the dust settle on that a bit. And if other people want to jump on that early and for whatever reason, good on them. Like that's cool. But I'll reach out to Willie in due course. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, he's not the first one to receive the Victoria Cross. From my understanding, he is the only living New Zealander who has been awarded the Victoria Cross.
New Zealand Special Forces of that group.
Great privilege to share this special New Zealand moment with you. Wear it with great pride.
When he pinned it on my chest, it was like one of the heaviest things I'd ever carried. It was such a small thing.
Just hearing Willie mention that, one of the heaviest things he's ever carried for such a small thing. Intelligent man, I think everybody knows, he knows more than anybody, the weight that comes with him now having that distinction, that honour, that well-earned, rightly deserved award pinned to his chest. He's in the public eye now, and people are going to be watching his every move, from the parent at the school to the teacher at the school to the average Joe on the street to the business owner at a dairy or at a restaurant or whatever. Not to mention the media, not to mention the military, not to mention everybody else, family members, friends, etc. It's a massive weight to carry. And from my personal perspective, he's done that really well. I don't profess to know all the details of his private personal life, hence why it's called private and personal life. But for some reason, I guess media feel like it's their obligation or their duty to stick their noses into people's private and personal life and then package it up and say that the world or Aotearoa or New Zealand has a right to know. We don't have a right to know what's going on in his private or personal life. That's my 2 cents for what it's worth. I don't think, regardless of the position and the responsibility that he holds as New Zealand's only living Victoria Cross winner, we don't deserve to know what's going on in his private and personal life. And that's not something that I think is a space that should be going into. Now, I don't know if that's been happening. I haven't been following, or I choose to not delve into looking into people's private personal lives if there's stuff been put up on the media which looks to pull people down. Hence part of the reason I have never really looked into Ben Roberts-Smith's case and the defamation case and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, a lot of weight on the fella here, on Willie's shoulders to carry. And for us, just as New Zealanders here, just, being mindful of that, being as respectful as we can in regards to the weight that is on his shoulders. We may not see it. I definitely don't feel it, but this fella does. And if we can be mindful of that, I think it can go a long way to helping lighten the burden or lighten the load or the weight of responsibility that Willie has to carry.
I felt very proud that day, Things that had finally sunk in by then. And I just felt very proud for my country.
Yeah, well, I've always been a man of few words, and I'm still trying to get used to all the press and that. It's been a very emotional and humbling experience today. All the New Zealanders out there that have supported me and sent me all those messages, I have still reading through them all, and I will read them all. They are very heartwarming messages. And
I've given up being surprised by any of these guys. Just when you think that they've gone to the level of their endurance or the level of their capabilities, they'll always come out with more. So In his particular instance, he's done a fantastic job.
After a day surrounded by the country's leaders.
So I'm going to pause it there. It's awesome to hear the CEO speak like that as well, but also to hear Willie just ever gracious, in his receipt of the award, in the recognition, in the letters of support, admiration, warming the heart, as he mentioned, sent to him. And love how he's here. I can't imagine, but man, the amount of mail and letters that he must be getting. And just, we saw some earlier footages of him reading through them and taking his, well, not necessarily taking his time, but trying to get through them. It's pretty awesome.
A proud family at last gets a brief moment to themselves.
That is so precious. Man, that's going to be loaded by the time you're finished.
Hey, we're cutting the time, mate.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah. You can say goodbye to them.
Yeah, you look after yourself. When you come home. Yep. Love you, boys.
Love you too, sis.
Bye.
Cheers, boss.
And then, at the end of the most important day of his life, Willie is finally alone.
I just like be at peace with myself for just those few moments. You know, I've taken all the day's events because even though it was the end of the day, the journey wasn't over yet.
I actually didn't know Willie was a smoker until I met him. I forgot all about this and him having a cigarette, because many years ago I obviously saw this while I was in country at the time with some of the Kiwi lads that brought the DVD over at the time. But yeah, I was looking at it now. I even just sort of forgot not that long ago when I caught up with him, or a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. Maybe it was a bit longer than that. Around about the 2-year mark, I think. Yeah, it's still sort of surreal now. See him having a cigarette. I don't know too many operators that smoked. Like, it's not a requirement that you don't smoke, but it was just sort of took me by surprise whenever I did see, very fit, very capable, awesome operators that did smoke. That's all. So it just stuck out to me, just hit me now again as I was watching this.
If Corporal Willie Apiata thought after receiving the Victoria Cross he would quietly return to his former life in the New Zealand SAS, he was mistaken.
The award brings with it a great opportunity and great privilege, but it also brings tremendous responsibility.
Instead of resuming normal duties, Willie and the Victoria Cross are sent on a week-long publicity road trip.
Everybody wanted to meet Willie, wanted Willie to appear at events.
And that's the thing, I'm pretty sure people still want Willie to appear and be present at events even to this day. But when there was a comment that was put in about Robert Smith, sorry to bring that up here, but it was talking about how he monetized it or whatever. My 2 cents in there, without delving into all of that, on that video was around, hey, man, he's earned it. Like, my opinion, people like Willie, like those others that have received the Victoria Cross, earned and been awarded it. Man, there needs to be some additional support or something wrapped around them, maybe a manager or whatever it's called, to look after them, because they can get pulled left, right and centre. And my experience, they typically have such big hearts and a willingness to help in any way that they can, oftentimes at the detriment of themselves personally and or of their own family. So, they should have some higher level of support to be by their side to help them navigate that stuff, because people are trying to pull them from everywhere, to come speak here, come meet this person, can I introduce you to, can we do this, can you do that? I never had that happen to me. I can just only imagine, and based on some of the stuff that I have heard with I think they use the term obligations or touring around, it's a massive burden or massive responsibility. I shouldn't say burden, because they probably don't see it as a burden, but it's a massive responsibility to shoulder.
The launch pad for the tour is Waiuru, the main training base for the New Zealand Army. Already the impact of Willie's new celebrity status is apparent. The corporal's accommodation is upgraded to one normally reserved for VIPs.
And then when the CO said, oh, we're crashing at the homestead, and we actually stayed there, I was like, whoa.
I'm a lieutenant colonel. I don't get to stay at the homestead. Certainly not the sort of place that a corporal would stay. Normally,
Yeah, so he should. He should get to stay there.
you'd be a whole barracks there.
At Waiuru Military Museum, Willie literally comes face to face with his newfound fame.
It's been amazing the amount of public interest in here, everything. And we've got a couple of panels down there. We've had them in for about 6 months. Hardly anyone pays attention. Yeah. This has been up, since last week, and certainly the interest in it's been amazing. All will be transferred permanently down to the main museum.
And you've got the Falklands and the Gulf.
The museum is home to New Zealand's Gallantry Awards.
All the Victoria Crosses that we hold here, they're obviously all real. And this one's Charles Upham's.
Willie's actions have placed him alongside the likes of Charles Upham, New Zealand's most famous double VC winner, and Bernard Freiberg.
There you go. Just, I think I mentioned Upham before, but I failed to mention that he was awarded the VC twice. So, yeah, I don't know. I think maybe the gentleman that was presenting and pinned the Victoria Cross on Willie's chest may have just forgotten, or may have just been an accidental slip of the tongue when he said New Zealand's only Victoria Cross winner. He's definitely not.
In these surroundings, for the first time, this humble soldier is not alone.
I don't see myself as a hero. Just do my job out there that day.
Next up, Palmerston North Boys High. The school has a proud military past. Many former pupils fought and lost their lives during the 2 world wars.
We are absolutely honoured to be visited by this delegation from the SAS and Corporal Willie Apiata VC. He displays many of the qualities dear to this school, his courage and humility, an example to us all. School stand.
This symbolic act of 1,600 boys is a heartfelt demonstration of the groundswell of national pride. And his companions are briefly thrown into the world of Willie Apiata VC.
Oh my gosh, you guys make me feel special.
It's hard case. It's awesome to hear and cool to see. I never knew that about Palmerston North Boys High School and the rich military history that they have. That's awesome that they honour that they respect that, and that they have those memories and those photos where they can, and the names on their walls. Yeah, it's beautiful to see. Hard case hearing them say thrown into the world of Willie Apiata, and that gentleman saying, "You fellas making me feel special." Crack up. I forgot to mention when Willie spoke earlier, when he come out of being awarded and he was speaking with the media about, he said words to the effect about how proud he was and how grateful he was to be a New Zealander. Yeah, I know I've mentioned this before. It definitely made me proud to be a New Zealander. Just the same way I felt proud because I'm privileged, blessed to have dual citizenship. Made me proud to have Australian citizenship and be an Australian as well, when the likes of Dono and RS were awarded theirs.
So yeah, there you go. People have an immense amount of pride as a result of his decoration.
To introduce you to my wife, sure.
It seems everyone wants a moment with Willie Apiata.
Anywhere I go now, garage or corner dairy, people always come up and are you Willie Apiata?
From playgrounds to parade ground, Willie has brought much honour to all ranks.
Soldiers out there are just so proud. This is a big lift for New Zealand Defence Force as a whole.
For Willie, an emotional trip is nearly at an end. The last port of call is the Infantry Battalion's 50th celebrations, where he is to present a special gift.
Says Corporal Willie Apiata VC, the 1st New Zealand Special Air Service Group.
To acknowledge what this really means to us as a warfighting organisation, and we can put aside the political correctness, but we're talking about closing with and killing the Queen's enemies. The example of close combat and the requirement of a bond between soldiers is timeless, transcends the technology we have. I thank you for this.
There's a good reason why soldiers fight. They don't necessarily, when in the heat of battle, fight for Queen and country or anything other than the man on their left and right.
It's 100% true, correct. And same, there's been a bunch of comments, why would anybody want to join the SF and go and fight the Western world's wars and all that sort of stuff? There's been a bunch of those comments. I'll look to try to, respond to those as respectfully and as politely as I can. Guys, I can only speak for myself, right? I never joined the military or had a desire to join the Special Air Service because I wanted to serve the Queen or the government. That never factored into my personal decision to want to serve in that unit. I wanted to go serve in the unit to be of some sort of use, to feel like I had a purpose, that I could use my physical attributes and my mindset to be able to help other people that might have been in a position or unable to help themselves, and to be able to do that while surrounded by who I thought, and in my opinion, and still to this day, would be the best people to be surrounded by and to learn from and to work within the world. And for me, that environment, for me, was the Special Air Service. So that's me trying to really wrap up in as brief a time as I can about why I joined. So that may not make sense still to people to this day or to other people. It doesn't need to make sense to other people. It just needed to make sense to me. And to anybody that has a desire to want to serve in the Special Air Service or in any Tier 1 SF unit or in the Special Forces in general, as long as your reason and as long as your decision makes sense to you, like mine did and still does to me, that's all that matters. You don't need to answer to anybody else. You don't need to try to fit in within somebody else's perspective or perception of what is right and wrong and why you should do something. It needs to align and be true to yourself and what it is that you want to do. So that's my 2 cents on that.
In Afghanistan, 3 NZ SAS soldiers were trapped behind a burning vehicle, their commander bleeding to death.
I know enough about med through the unit to know that it was an arterial bleed.
Attempts to reach the first aid only drew more fire. Their chances of survival were disappearing fast.
As soon as a vehicle like that has some type of fire, it turns itself into a lead magnet.
Got a really big point of reference, when you can see as the enemy or even as soldiers engaged in contact with the enemy, when you can see your rounds pinging and hitting that big metal object, you're going to keep firing those rounds in and around that thing until you either destroy it or till you hopefully get the people that may be hiding behind it to move, to give you an even greater chance of trying to drop those combatants in that moment. So these enemy men sound like they're very, very well drilled, accurate rounds down range at night time, element of surprise, speed, aggression, all of that sort of stuff in their favor. And they are hammering, and they likely don't realize, but they've got a person who's in a critical state, arterial bleed, and their backs are up against it right now. I'll let this go for a little bit longer.
You could definitely see one of the vehicles that had come up to support us engaging quite hardcore.
vehicle was getting hit hard because it was visible by the assault force, which was only about probably 25 metres away.
Things intensified to just had a feeling we stayed there any longer. It wouldn't last much longer.
We probably would have all come home in a box.
I'll pause that there just because it's just on 30 minutes. I'll try not to do another long marathon one. But man, about 25 metres away, the assault force from the group was what I think I heard, the enemy. So no wonder the rounds are heavy and accurate. It's not very far if he's talking about the enemy assault force. And then not surprising to hear, you know, the guys' brothers, the other vehicle that was some distance away. I think it mentioned 100 metres away, sort of them spreading themselves out in their LUP or their lie-up point or their harbour for the evening. Not surprising to see them gear up and crack on and start getting into to either move to a position where they can provide support and cover for Willie and his crew, or for the PC, Willie and their crew, the three-man team that was there, while trying to obviously draw attention from that ambush or those that had set off the ambush, and try to direct fire towards them to give Willie and the crew, you know, a bit of some respite to try to sort things out and get out of there. But we'll pause this here just because of where we're at. Seems like it's getting into some of the meat of the contact of the ambush, and I guess we'll hear and get more detail around the actions that Willie took, for those that may not know, to then be awarded the Victoria Cross. So grateful. This is awesome for me anyway, to do this reaction today, especially on the back of a couple of other heavier sessions. They were heavy for me anyway. I think I mentioned that at the start. But I appreciate your time and you being here. If you stuck around this long, appreciate the support, the comments, everything that's been going on. I'm going to do a couple of other videos today, and then look to hopefully try to get those posted up sooner rather than later as well. And yeah, just provide a bit of an update on what's happening, as people have been asking and been saying, sharing a lot of nice things about the growth of the channel. So I think it's probably due to give an update on that. So anyway, as always, whatever challenges, issues, trials, obstacles, difficulties that you may be going through, man, just keep turning up. You're doing awesome. Keep turning up. Keep staying in the fight. As difficult and as hard as it may be and as hard as it may seem, the sun will shine again. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Better days are ahead. So just stay in the fight and keep pushing forward. Remember to go always a little further, and remember, who dares wins. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. So as always, until the next video, a big one away from me to you.